Destination Newry, it's the morning programme going out of the heart of the old town, the new city of Newry, reaching out across the planet. We greet you in Manhattan and we greet you on the West Coast too. We greet you down in the Antipodes in Australia and Tasmania. We greet you in New Zealand. We greet you in continental Europe and down on the Costas. All's good with life, and we hope that you're enjoying it. And there's always a welcome back here for people, isn't there, Bill? Bill Reilly joins me, a fellow Meadow man. We grew up together for a time in the Meadow and went our separate ways. Bill went to teaching, I went into journalism, into the Navy and things like that. But our paths continue to cross because we have a shared interest in how this part of the world should be.
Yes, how this part of the world develops.
Yeah, and you're really looking now, Bill, at the idea of a heritage trail.
Yes.
Going from Narrowwater out to Kilbroney.
Right. Yeah.
Put some flesh on the bones of that.
Well, some flesh on the bones. I suppose it does come from the fact that in Warren Point we are trying to develop basically a tourist menu for people who come in who visit the town.
Yes.
But the problem is we don't have we're not having much success in getting help from local and central government. But I'm not. I'll go back to the Heritage Trail. I developed the Heritage Trail because my background was I was a French teacher, but I also studied archaeology at university as well, you see.
I rather think you were probably a natural teacher.
A natural teacher? I don't know.
I think it was in you.
No, I don't think so.
I would, so those who would say the opposite.
I had to fight hard to learn to be a teacher.
Ah, well, you did so.
Yeah, I did so. But so I've always been interested. I've always taken field trips for local historical groups and friends and people who are interested in history. And so eventually, I sort of last summer I got involved with taking a trip with the Maiden of Mourne Festival.
Wow, yes.
All right, and I started at Narrowwater and ended at Kilbroney. I thought to myself, why don't we actually produce this?
Yeah.
See, Newry has its heritage trail.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought whatever's good for Newry is good for Warren Point as well.
Yeah.
But the problem was we couldn't get the funding for it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're chasing at the minute.
So the Heritage Trail, what are the semicolons, the full stops, the commas along the way?
Yeah.
What will we see on the trail?
Well, we do start at Narrowwater, and the problem with Narrowwater.
So you'll hear the story of Narrowwater.
You hear the story of Narrowwater, and the problem with Narrowwater is so much happened there. It's very hard to get away from it.
Yeah.
And I know when I took the Heritage Trail last year with a group on a bus, we spent, I think, 25 minutes, and I eventually had to drag myself away because there is so much information, so much happened there.
Yeah.
You have the actual meeting place, and that's what gave me the next idea then. You have the meeting place of Slieve Gullion,
yes,
the Mournes and Cooley, right, and at Narrowwater.
It's a sacred triangle.
It is
almost.
It's a sacred triangle, and Narrowwater is a sacred place in many ways. I mean, even down to the fact that there was a Nuns Island across the way. There was a monastery there that was for both men and women. It was a monastery that was founded by St. Bridge.
My goodness.
Right, and also at that place was the fording point across there.
Yeah.
It was forded. There was a place named Kilnsnov, right, and basically the swimming place of horses. Okay, and the fact is, it was a fording place. It was used as a fording place. People trying to get from one side of Carlingford Lough to the other.
And in our own day.
We
had the old man of the boat who would
rowed
you across.
Yes.
And the railway was going up as well.
Charlie Bailey.
Was that his name?
That was his name. He was the last of a family of people who rowed people back and forward. Matter of fact, I often heard my father talking about whenever the train stopped going to Greenower, he used to go down with his friends on a Sunday when there was no drink had to be had in the north. Go down to the halt at Narrowwater, get off, get Charlie Bailey to take you across over to Davy's pub, right? Or it was a man called McCann who owned it at the time. Yeah. And then come back half tour and try and sink the boat in the middle halfay across.
Get across and then back in the train to Europe.
So I mean, the place actually takes me by storm. Actually, quite honest. Not just the history of the halls, but even the history before that. But even going through Warren Point has quite a history.
Before you get to Warren Point, will you be tempted to take them up towards Burren?
I would be tempted to take them up
Yeah,
towards
because
Burn.
there's a lot of stuff there.
There's a lot of stuff there. There is probably at the minute there is a very large Bronze Age hill fort. There are loads of portal tombs around as well. There's lots in Burn as well. Coming down to Clonallen, early Christian church again.
Yeah.
The church, it was St. Connell founded, and St. Dallin.
Yes.
Okay, and going into one, you also have quite close by a rather large rath. Going down into one point.
Isn't that Rath? Doesn't it have a commanding view over
Yes.
the loch?
It is a commanding view over the loch.
You see, I'm of the belief the Vikings came as far as Dundra. They came up to and went into Dundalk Bay,
Yes.
and they settled in Annagassan
Yes.
in huge numbers.
Yes.
My understanding is they had a little sortie into Carlingford Loch,
Yes.
but they were spotted coming. I can't prove this
Yeah.
by the men of Warren Point and all of that area, and they found it wise to go back.
No,
and they didn't actually settle
I
here.
don't think it's quite. It actually is in the annals of Ulster, right, that there was a settlement at Narrow
A Viking settlement.
at the Keelishka, as they called it. There was a Viking settlement. We thought whenever they were doing the due diligence and the excavations for the Narrow Bridge,
yeah.
that they had found actually a Viking site, when in fact it's a medieval.
But you know
settlement.
something, listen.
But I'm
Dave,
sure there was a Viking site
It would
there.
be impossible to believe they didn't find Viking artifacts.
Absolutely.
And my contention is that what they've done is they're keeping the lid on the Viking end of things, because they'll bring fellows with machines trying to get it out, amateur fellows trying to steal.
Yeah.
So they're keeping that fairly secret.
Yes, but I would be fairly certain that they would have found a Viking. I was nearly certain they would have found a Viking site, and also Mesolithic tools as well.
Yeah.
With Charlie Bailey, I remember Charlie Bailey, who was the ferryman at that point. He was also one of the first keepers of the keep at Norrowwater when it was open to the public in the 60s.
Yes, yes.
I again as a student, a young fellow, I used to cycle down to see it. And he showed me flints that he had inside his thing. They were Mesolithic flints.
Yeah, of course.
They've disappeared. Don't know what's happened to them.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's the usual way.
That's it.
But
so you've done Burren and coming
Yeah.
down into Warren Point.
Yes.
There was once upon a time, there was a big windmill in Warren Point.
Windmill in the centre of Warren
You didn't
Point.
have any factory chimneys such as, but you did a windmill.
No, we had a windmill, and we have Warren Point actually, which we feel at the moment grew out of the famine. All right, the halls secured an architect to lay out the centre of Warren Point, and the centre of Warren Point was laid out like a continental town. Okay, large square, the large garden, the wide boulevard streets. Okay, and Warren Point, the halls had developed Warren Point Port. And they actually brought goods back and forth between Warren Point and Liverpool, okay, which still happens to Heysham. And then the famine ships left from Warren Point, and people used to come for the famine ships, but they couldn't be quite sure when they would arrive. So the bed and breakfast, the boarding houses started to grow in Warren Point. The shops then started to grow in Warren Point, because when you went on that ship to the Americas, I mean, you needed the shops, and you needed to buy stuff, and the shops provided everything, as they say, from a pill to a po.
Yeah,
right?
there was a natural growth cycle.
A natural growth cycle that grew then into tourism, the tourism that made Warren Point probably the premier tourist resort in Ireland in the early 1900s.
So you're heading through Warren Point and down along the shore road out in the direction of Moygannon.
But apart from that, it's not just about the heritage, the history aspect of heritage. When you're walking along, you are looking at the geological aspect as well. It's inescapable. No matter where you look, you're in the middle of a fjord. You can look across. I can look across, and I'll see at least two Neolithic cairns on top of the mountains over at Omeath. I can see the faults that were left by earthquakes 40 million years ago. So there's that aspect of the heritage of the natural heritage as well as you're going through. So I hope the Heritage Trail, when we eventually get the funding for it, will reflect not just the history, but also the built environment of Warren Point, the way it was laid out, the buildings that are in it. We have probably one of the best preserved Edwardian townscapes in Ireland. Apart from, I think the only other one I've seen is in Ballyholme and Bangor, and that has to be preserved. That Victorian Edwardian townscape has to be preserved, as well as the ability to look on, reflect on the natural beauty around you and the geology of that, as well as then moving on to Rostrevor.
So suddenly we're in Rostrevor, and the valley of St. Brona's there, and St. Brona's Bell, and the antiquity of early Christianity there.
Yep, right through. And the early Christianity, don't forget, on the way through, you have the Crag graveyard in the centre of the village, with a church, with a ruined church in it. That was the first Church of Ireland church built in the diocese of Dromore. Then diocese of Down, and the Presbyterian, or not the Church of Ireland, diocese of Down and Dromore, and go on then on up to St. Brona's. Also, and there are again numerous houses around Rostrevor that have historical links as well as the monument and General Ross.
It has actually retained a lot of its gentleness, both Warren Point and Rostrevor.
Yes.
There's a niceness about it.
There's a niceness, there's a quietness of life about it. But again, why we want to preserve that, we do want to see more visitors, because Warren Point, it has its port, and there is a certain amount of industrial activity around it. But the employment is going to come increasingly from visitors. And that is why we are pushing certain aspects of the visitor diet. We would like to see the keep developed more. We did have a meeting with Mark H. Durkin, and he has promised to look at Warren Point. We have asked him to look at Warren Point and look at the Norrawater Keep as a signature project, really, in South Down, right? Because we have two major buildings in South Down of that era and earlier. The Norrawater Keep, the Elizabethan town, the Elizabethan Keep, and and Greencastle. Right? We should be able to put out a heritage package that takes people around, that detains people in the area for a day to eat, to visit the shops, to provide employment.
Yeah. What's Durkin saying to you?
Well, Durkin. We were brought there with by the SDLP councillors and Mark Durkin. We have actually asked him to consider. There has been a lot of work done on the keep. It's been preserved, and it's been preserved to make sure it lasts for another 400 or 500.
But you've asked him to make it a signature project.
We're asking him. Yes.
What's he saying?
Well, he's a way to look at it. Like every minister. They promise you everything, and really, what has been delivered in Northern Ireland, and that's the big issue. What has been delivered in Northern Ireland? We have asked him to deliver or to develop the keep with a better visitor experience. There is new signage in it to explain what happened there, the history of Norrawater. But we've asked him to develop the top floor to furnish it as it would have been furnished in the late 1500s.
Easy enough thing for him to do.
Easy enough thing to do. And then, then it would require someone to be there, and it would require it to be open more. We know we were actually quite thankful the fact that Cormac Campbell in the Reporter has been agitating a fair bit, and we comment quite regularly through the Reporter to make sure that we have extended opening hours. Okay, so that people in the summer, not last summer before that, it was open for a very short period of time, and sort of with no real indication of when it was open, and it attracted a large number of visitors.
Why am I
large
thinking,
number of visitors last year, and hoping to increase it again.
Why
this
am
year.
I thinking banquets?
Banquets? Well, you're thinking banquets because that's what used to happen.
Like there could be modest banquets.
There could be modest banquets there. There is every possibility that if we had a coherent tourist strategy in the area, right? And that requires Newry and Mourne, and well, of course, the new super council. That requires them to have a coherent tour strategy for the whole area. It must be more possible now with going so we can share visitors right around the moors, right around Carlingford Lough. The ideal for me is that we would share visitors around Carlingford Lough through the ferry that's proposed and through the Narrow Water Bridge, which is still the #1 project for Narrow Water Bridge Action Committee, which I'm which I am a member of, and the Warrenpoint Burn Rostrevor Chamber of Commerce.
I think at this stage we wish you good luck with all of this, Bill, and it's a delight to see you're all up again. You've mustered again for the bridge.
We've mustered again. We're about to launch a website to keep people informed. We obviously want to convince our local candidates for the council to back the bridge as the number one source for economic development around Carlingford Lough.
Okay, Bill, we wish you well.
Okay,
We'll play you some music now.
Okay.
Go well, take care, and
Right.
good luck.
Okay.
Bill Reilly there. You're with Destination Newry.